continues, so do the NBA players.
Where it's not exactly going well for Boston.
Got downhill, couldn't punch it. Bam says, get it out of here.
You get on that big stage, you just got to make big plays. That's all it is. He made a good play. Just get ready for game 2.
Kemba Walker doing a little bit of everything. The Celtics looking sharp here in the first half. The Miami Heat have regained the lead after trailing by 17. Dragic a three-pointer. Bang! Tatum goes in a corner. Won't go. The tip misses. The Miami Heat take a 2-0 lead here in this best-of-7 conference final.
Good morning now to our Kendrick Perkins. Look, I just said this minutes ago, but the most dangerous lead in all of sports at this moment is any lead that the Celtics have. They blew a 17-point lead against the Heat, and now they're in that 0-2 hole. So based on what you've seen so far, how much faith do you have in Boston's ability to actually turn this into a series?
Well, it's not over, but I have very little faith. Right now, you're looking at a Boston Celtics team that were number one defensively throughout this whole playoffs, and right now they have lost their defensive identity. Those guys cannot guard a parked car right now. Miami Heat are dissecting them every which way on the defensive end. They're cutting. Bam is getting wide open dunks. I thought he was Shaq yesterday. And on the offensive end, they're playing individually. They're not playing team-wise. The Celtics are playing my turn basketball. Okay, Kemba, here go your turn. Do your step backs and your crossovers. Okay, I haven't touched the ball. Next is Jason Tatum. Sidestep 3-point shots. You cannot beat the Miami Heat playing individual basketball on the offensive end. And the Miami Heat has been, in game 1, they had 32 assists. Last night they had 28 assists, and they have been dominating the Celtics in the paint.
And the Celtics, keep in mind, they had a 2-0 series lead over the Raptors, and the Raptors still took them to 7 games in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals is tonight. It's the Lakers and the Nuggets, and you could say that Denver has the momentum because they overcame 2 3-1 series, deficits in their previous 2 series. So what's it going to be tonight for the Lakers? What's the key for them to jump out to a good start?
Well, they just got to be who they are, and that's the championship-bred team that they are right now. They have the most championship experience in the league, and it's showing. The way that they did the Houston Rockets, I have no concern about the Los Angeles Lakers. The Denver Nuggets haven't faced a team like this, especially with LeBron James being the best player in the world and Anthony Davis being the top 5 player in the world, the best power forward. And let's not talk about playoff Rondo. He has turned it up another notch. And Alex Caruso, I said this before, he is the heart and soul of that team. Danny Green is finding his stride and finding his rhythm on the offensive end. So is Caldwell Pope. Kyle Kuzma are doing things that we haven't seen him do all year on the defensive end and bringing that energy. So the Lakers just have to be themselves. Dwight Howard is probably going to start, and they're probably going to go big to match up with Jokic. And with him and Anthony Davis in that front court, they're the best front court defensive team, front court defensive duo in the NBA.
Just want to say, they need to be themselves, yet the Lakers have yet to open a series with a win this postseason. Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals is tonight at 9.
How about 9:40 start times every night, Steve?
That works.
Get out and explore the city. Feel like explore the space. All right, hey, welcome. This is Sports Center. Scott Van Pelt from Washington, D.C. Heat up 2-0. We're with you until 11 o'clock Eastern time. It was a tale of 2 halves. Looked like Boston was going to try to run away quarter, and that has been the story for the Celtics in the postseason. They've been outscored in the third quarter in 8 of the 9 postseason games. The last 9, I should say, and the point differential here from game 1 to game 2 was the story. But again, as we saw, it was a coin flip late, and now Miami has a 2-0 lead in the Eastern Conference Finals. And Tim Legler stops by. And Tim, as you and I are talking here, watching this game, I'd like to leave you by yourself to just do your job. But as I come in and we talk, and you point out, what did the Heat do out of nowhere that turned this game?
Yeah, so I talk about the Heat's zone defense all the time. They probably play it on a given night in the regular season when I watch them, Scott, 30% of the game.
Okay.
I didn't see it at all in the first 2 rounds. And, in fact, I said there was a big key going up against Philly in the first round because of Embiid and Simmons being bottled up. But they didn't play it at all. And I'm saying to myself as I'm watching Heat the first 2 rounds, is he just not willing to let people scout this? Is that what he's doing? Because I couldn't understand where it was. Here it is. Maybe he was saving it for this team because the Miami Heat played zone defense almost the entire second half and erased a 17-point deficit. And it really did affect Boston in a dramatic way. It bottled them up. They didn't attack it right. They had nobody in the middle of the zone most of the game. And that's where you have to beat a zone, in the middle and on the short baseline. They didn't have anybody there at all. So they played into Miami's hands, but it was definitely a huge turning point in this game tonight, Miami's zone.
As is often the case throughout the run of a playoff series, you lean on your superstar players. Superstars mostly win you championships. Butler makes star plays, remarkable defensive plays. But you don't win 16 games in the postseason without significant contributions from supporting role players. What did Miami get from others in this one? Well,
how many average fans, if you asked them on the street, who's the leading scorer for the Miami Heat in the postseason?
I'm hosting this show, and I don't know the answer.
They're going to say Jimmy Butler, and maybe somebody will say Bam Adebayo. Yeah, I know Bam's pretty good. He's an all-star. It's
probably Dragic. Yeah,
Dragic is their leading scorer in the postseason, and he's had better statistical years than this regular season. This is the best I've ever seen Goran Dragic play. So you start with Dragic. You get guys like Hero, who now is a playmaker and can also score the basketball. And you look at what they did in the third quarter. Jimmy Butler is a star player that can go the longest stretches I've ever seen without really seeming to care about shooting the basketball. And yet they unleash a 37-point quarter in the third quarter. And Jimmy Butler hardly touches the ball. It speaks to what you were saying. They share it. They see everybody. They don't miss an open man typically. And everybody on the floor is a threat. Very few teams can say that.
How rare is it to be the superstar that, because the key point is doesn't care if he, not doesn't care, cares a lot, but doesn't care if he shoots the ball. That's unusual, isn't it?
I mean, it's not how many star players are going to go 6-8 minutes, not get a decent look, and not be somewhat upset about that. No, none of them. Jimmy Butler, and to not care, maybe not the best way to put it. It's he's reading the game, and as long as it's working with other guys, he really doesn't care about his numbers. That's really what I meant.
Exactly.
And he's still playing hard at the other end. And then he knows, I'm going to have a moment here where you're going to need me. And he had huge defensive plays late in this game that led to some offense for him as well. He had a big take in a one-on-one situation against Tatum. So he knows he can go to that well when he needs to, which is a very rare thing for guys to have 5-6 shots like he had tonight. I think 7 shots going into the fourth quarter. Most stars, maybe the rhythm's not there tonight if you do that. This doesn't seem to be the case with Jimmy Butler. And yet, everybody else is picking up the slack, and you just see how connected they are, man. This team really likes playing together.
Yeah, and Adebayo spoke to it the other night. Duncan Robinson is going to join us here in a bit, and I'm going to get his take on just how he frames the camaraderie and how much that helps them. Eric Spoelstra afterwards, and I know, Tim, you've lauded his coaching acumen, and it's been underrated and underappreciated. It's going to be hard to sleep on the job that he has done for this team. Here's Spo after his team takes a 2-0 lead in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Boston was really getting us on our heels in the first half, and I don't think anybody was in any kind of rhythm or disposition defensively. And a lot of it was them. I mean, they were backing us up and everything. So I think Bam, really set the tone in that second half, along with Jay. And then our reserves came in and really gave us a boost defensively. That just took some of the pressure off of our offense. But Bam, was really assertive in the pick and roll. And that kind of loosened up some things, for us. But, games are long, and you just have to figure out different ways to impact winning. And Bam, he understands that. And Goran, their defense is really good. It's really good. They can flatten you out. And sometimes that's what is needed, for some games. You just have to create something out of nothing, and Goran was able to do that down the stretch.
Ira Winderman. Eric, the return of the zone defense and staying with it even when there were some rough spots. Was that something you tweaked along the way, or is it the usual, just do it better, and you guys did it better?
I don't know. I have to look at the first half. There wasn't much that we liked about what we were doing defensively, man or zone. I know everybody wants to talk about a scheme. For us, it's disposition, it's effort, making tough plays, making multiple efforts, regardless of the scheme. And we were more committed there in the second half.
And then Duncan's.
So it's a 17-point comeback for the Heat, which matches the best start to a postseason in franchise history, which is better, interestingly, than any of the years that LeBron was there. And just from the Boston perspective, Tim, because we talked about this game one, and it played out here, and I believe we will continue to see this throughout, that no matter what you do, you being Miami or you being Boston, you can't get far enough ahead that the other team is not going to get a chance to respond because their effort will not wane. And we saw that in this game. From Boston's perspective, how do you rebound from a night where you land that many punches and have that kind of advantage and do not end the night winning the game?
Yeah, this is one of the few series I'm going to watch where I'm not going to worry about a team being down 2-0 in terms of I'm going to say it's over. Usually I would say nobody's winning 4 out of 5, right? Because they just don't do it. That's not the case here. So if you are Boston, you're saying to yourself, okay, these are one-possession games. We're going to expect more of those. We have to clean up 2 things. First, they have to play faster up the floor offensively. That's when Kemba's really good. Without Kemba Walker, they cannot win this series. He was great in the first half because everything was early. He gets in gaps, he gets in seams, he gets you back on his heel, he uses his quickness. He didn't get any of those opportunities at all in the second half because he was going against the zone the entire half. The second thing, they got to go back and watch tape. There has to be somebody in the middle of the zone. They didn't have anybody there the whole time. The only guy who made an effort was Grant Williams when he came into the game. I'm saying finally, he understands the concept. Screen the top defender, roll to the middle, occupy the pinch, and now you have open shooters or you can get the short baseline and somebody diving. They just didn't do it. They were so willing to stand 4 guys at the three-point line and 1 guy on the block. And look at that big area in the middle of the floor. That's what Brad Stevens is going to find. He saw a lot of this, I'm sure, when he was coaching at Butler, right? A lot of zone defenses. He knows somebody has to get to the middle of the floor because that ball's got to go there to pinch the wings, and now you get the kick out for the open shot. So I think those 2 areas they're going to clean up because they're going to see a ton of that zone again in Game 3. I guarantee you. They've got to be more prepared, and I'm certain they will because Brad Stevens is such a good coach. And then Kemba Walker has to be involved in early offense. If he is not, he has been relegated to a guy that's not very effective, and they can't win this series unless he's as good as he was in the first half.
I have one more quick follow on coaching, and you coach. Is zone something you throw at him because what the hell, we're getting our butt kicked, and then it works and it keeps working? So rather than getting tricky, you just say we'll ride this until it doesn't work. Is that sort of what happens? That's
what happened tonight, I guarantee you, because even when the Heat do in the regular season and they're good, yeah, they'll be good for 4 or 5 possessions.
You switch out.
And then they hit a couple of threes, and you're like, okay, let's go, man.
Of course.
But tonight it was like, okay, they're still not getting anybody in the middle. They're not really hurting us. We have completely slowed Kemba down. Let's just stay with this and see how long we can ride it. Next thing you know, you look up, you go from down 17 to up 3. You're like, okay, I guess we'll stay with it most of the fourth quarter then as well. So I think that was the case in this game because you don't know as a coach how long it's going to work, right? You just know we're stringing possessions together. Let's just keep riding this thing.
All you're trying to do is be clever. You don't need to try too hard to be clever if it's working.
The one thing I will say, though, they practice it more than any other team. Okay. So it's not like, drawing up a 2-3 in a huddle. NBA teams, they're not going to execute that very well. This is part of their culture. Right. And so now when you do go to it, they're very comfortable. They're going to make the right rotations, and it just so happens now you stay with it because Boston goes through a scoring drought.
It's a 2-0 lead, but just 2 incredibly compelling games, just great watches, and people that love the sport like we do. It's you couldn't ask for a whole lot more. Tim, appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott.
So you talk about the best 11-game start in the playoffs, and they're off to a 10-1 start through these 11 games.